Pile personnalité ou pas connaît, gen un pile valeur que n'oubliez. Pour finir avec tout ça, Open Life TV Show ouvre une fenêtre sur le monde qui permet de découvrir des personnalités et des talents très remarquables. Open Life TV Show, c'est une plateforme qui a défilé sous un tapis 5 étoiles, toute œuvre à image qui fait force de communauté noire. Société, musique, religion, culture, rencontres, rire aux éclats, c'est tout ça pour le bonheur de tous les goûts. Pas rater un rendez-vous comme ça. Restez connecté sur YouTube et Facebook et puis abonnez à la chaîne YouTube Open Life TV Show. Comme ça, quel que soit côté où ou pas manquer rien. Open Life TV Show a aidé à identifier et valoriser potentiel ou l'a aidé à mettre accent sur force et bon plus confiance, motivation pour un succès total. Emilienne Lubin, présentatrice, animatrice de carrière. Open Life TV Show pour découvrir de nouveaux horizons. Pile talent qui caché, gen un pile personnalité ou pas connaît, gen un pile valeur que n'oubliez. Pour finir avec tout ça, Open Life TV Show.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Open Life TV Show. This is your host here, Emie, Belle Emie. So today I'm here to present to you a beautiful show based on counseling. My guest is here waiting to tell you all you need how to deal with life challenges. Before I present to you my guest, I would like you please, if you don't do that yet, to go subscribe to Open Life TV Show. Please make a comment, give us a thumb up, give us a like, and don't forget to share this live with your loved one. Again, it's your host, Belle Emie. How you doing today? And it's a pleasure for me to be here with you today. I hope that we're gonna have a great time this afternoon. Good afternoon to my guest here, Counselor Trey. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today.
Yes, it's a pleasure for me to have you here at Open Life TV Show. How about you? Do you happy to be here with us?
I'm excited to be here. I always like to talk about counseling. So.
Okay, nice. So I know this day it's very difficult for professional people to have time, especially coming in an interview, and then you honor this. You honor me to be here today, and I really appreciate the fact that you are here today.
No, I'm happy. Again, like I said, I'm honored to be on your show. So.
Thank you, Counselor Trey. So I would like you to introduce yourself to the public. Tell them your full name, and if you are married, and how many kids do you have?
Okay. My name is Tremaine Thomas, but I go mostly by Trey. Married next month would be 22 years, and I have 2 kids, a 20-year-old and a 15-year-old.
Wow, nice. 22 years, you say?
Yes,
wow.
August 5th.
Wow, this is nice. So I think being a counselor helped you to keep your marriage for so long.
Yeah, I wasn't always a counselor, so I had problems early on, but it helped as I came along, yes.
Yeah, but before I continue with the show, I know you are a mental health counselor. You help people dealing with life challenges. So that means you don't need, I don't think you have any life challenges in your relationship since you are helping people.
That's not true. We all have challenges because we all have different personalities. But, you know, we just try to learn how to work through those personalities so to minimize conflict.
Nice. I like that. So you're honest. You are an honest person. You're honest. Yeah. Because you accept that dealing with people. Because to make a couple, it takes 2 people, two different people with two different personalities. So we both raise up somewhere different, and we both have our own habit, think that we like and think we don't like. So I know dealing with people in general, so you're gonna always have difficulty, right?
Right. Well, you know, you come from different backgrounds, different family dynamics, and all of those things kind of formulate how you believe about life. And then you come into share space with another person that believes maybe similar some ways, but maybe different in other ways. So those differences usually create the friction, and it's that friction, if it doesn't get worked out, continues to build over time, and it erodes at the marriage or at the relationship.
Okay, nice. A lot of people that listen right now, watching us right now, or will continue to watch this show, they heard about like mental health counselor or mental health therapist, but they're not aware of what it is exactly. So I would like you to define it, telling the people what a mental health counselor do.
Okay, so a mental health counselor or therapist is a person that kind of works with how you think about things, and they just organize and structure your thought processes. So a lot of people have taboo thoughts about therapy because we were raised in environments that didn't believe in it. They believe if you go talk to somebody, you're crazy. But just like any other profession, we go to accountants when we need help with money and different things like that. So a mental health counselor is a person that helps you get your thought processes together to where you want to go in life. So we just help, I think, as a vehicle to get you to where you want to go.
Yeah, yes, that's nice. So I know being a counselor is not something easy. It's something I can say it's, even though I'm not a mental health counselor, but I can imagine it's not something easy because dealing with people that have conflicts in their life, that have problems in their lives, it's not something easy. Because like when you see somebody dealing with so much problem, so much difficulty, so that can even make a big impact in your life. So what make you choose to be a mental health counselor?
I really think God has had a lot to do with that. I grew up in a family where I watched my mother help a lot of people, and so I think her willingness to help people kind of really made a big impact on me. So I've always worked in service work type fields, and I just think God actually moved me over into mental health counseling in order for me to maximize on kind of the personality that I had.
Wow. So that's mean it's coming from your Christianity.
Yeah, because I didn't, my undergrad is not in mental health, it's not in psychology, it's in another field.
Okay.
So I started working at a group home as a part-time job, and that part-time job turned into me going back to school and getting my master's degree in mental health counseling, and I end up working in the community to running my own mental health practice.
Yes. I know in the state that we are living right now, I don't know for other state, but in Florida, I think it's require 2 years for you to get a master in counseling.
Yes.
So did you take the full 2 years, or did you take longer, or did you take less?
No, I took the full 2 years. I, like I said, I was out of the field, so I wasn't sure that I was going to be accepted, but I wrote off to Nova, Southeastern University, and they accepted me, and I took the 2-year part of the program and finished it in 2 years.
Okay, so some people, they start a major, and then while they in it, and they say, oh, this is not what I expected. Right. This is not how I know it was. So they quit. Right. So that never happened.
It happened to me in undergrad. I went through 3 different majors in undergrad, from engineering to sports administration, and I ended up switching 3 times. And like I said, psychology wasn't one of those fields, and it's just something. That's why I feel it's God ordained, because it was something that I never had on my radar to do. but I've been doing it over the past 16 years.
Okay. Jaden, can you go tell him to put on the volume? Yeah. So, okay. So I know, as a human being, we have mind, we have brains, we have something called ego, and we have intellect. So can you define those 4 things for us?
Yes, and defining those things, my ego, brains, intellect. As a person, we like to do it in therapy. We bring it into as far as a place of the ego is kind of where a lot of the centralized thought processes lie in how we go about our world trying to accomplish things. Our mind, our brain lays out the format of how things get done. But more than that, our subconscious process, what we've learned and subconsciously put in our system is what we go on day to day. You know, we drive subconsciously. Sometimes we do our job subconsciously. So our subconscious factor of our mind is the most important and influential part of us, because if we learn things that are not healthy or correct, we can be subconsciously doing them, which can cause problems. So even though we may have our might and our strength as far as wanting to do something, our subconscious will cause our strength and our might would use the subconscious to get stuff done, good and bad.
Yeah. Okay. But you know, we are living in a life right now. I can take an example of pastor's wife, or leader in general. So most of the time, those people are the one dealing with conflict in the relationship. It's because of one of those things that took place, that took control over the brain. So when can we know that is the ego that is in control right now?
Well, I think a lot of times we have to listen to those who are around us and having our support systems. And that's why it's good to, always have people in your life that tell you the truth, having people that know you. And if you start to change or they see deviations in your process, they can say, hey, this is not kind of like you normally, this is not how you normally operate, what's going on. And we have to be willing to hear those people. So we always should have people in our lives who could be supportive and be a sounding board for us. So that part, they always know who you are, and so they begin to tell you when you're off track. So I think having a good support system lets you know when that ego is involved, because that ego, goes outside of doing what you would normally do.
Yes, this is what I wanted to hear. This is what I wanted to hear, and you know why? Because this day, you see people, like when they see a couple, because I asked you this question because you're counseling couples, family, and individuals. But people around the world, so when they see like a couple going to a relationship difficulty, and they have problem in the relationship, and they always say, oh, she act emotionally, but I think they don't really know that make that person act like that. But most of the time, the more violent person in a relationship are the breadwinner, like the person that know, like, I'm the head of the house. So sometimes you don't find submission from that person, and then I think when they act like that, I think it's their ego that take control of their brain, making them doing what they wouldn't do normally.
Right. Well, a lot of times you gotta, a lot of times people, again, it goes back to how they are believing about a situation. So if I'm your counterpart and I believe that you're getting ahead of me or you're too emotional, then I may manipulate through that ego a situation to kind of shut you down, right? Because I feel you should be at a certain place. But that goes back to how I think. That goes back to my mind. So then that ego kicks in and say, well, she's getting a little too far ahead of you.
Yes.
So how to stop that? And all it does is give our mind solutions, and whatever that solution is. And a lot of times these solutions are not necessarily healthy. And so what I deal with people who are trying to deal with healthy solutions. So even if they feel that you're getting ahead, how can I support that?
Yeah.
Since we're a team, it shouldn't be about getting ahead. It should be like, this is helping the relationship dynamic. But you have, individuals who have different thought process, so the ego comes up and kind of crushes that other person's spirit and shuts them down.
Yeah, and I don't think this is a good thing for no one to let your ego take control of your brain. So you're here as a counselor, mental health counselor. So what can you tell the folks that are listening to us right now and that think that they have this issue in their life?
All right. Well, what I would like to say is that, there is nothing wrong with getting help. It doesn't make you weak or anything like that. And I think a lot of times, especially when it comes from a male perspective, us men, we don't like doing things. We don't like going to the doctors. We don't like, so I think we look at that as a sign of weakness, to ask another person for help. But I think when we're dealing with any challenge, that if you don't know the answer, then go to somebody who could help get the answer. And kind of that's where I come in at. I help, or mental health in general, I help people try to find the answer, because sometimes, somebody outside looking in can see the picture a lot better. So if you are struggling with what you perceive as ego issues, do you feel like you have to be in charge and, these different things, then maybe you want to kind of find out where that is deriving from. Because a lot of times when we look back, it's coming from somewhere, possibly in our childhood. We've watched our parents act like that. We mimic behavior. A lot of times we mimic behavior of people we've seen. And who do we be around the most? Our parents, So if you've seen a behavior for 15, 16, 18 years, a lot of times you mimic behavior and not even realize it. And that's what I was talking about, the subconscious. So I think, going to sort things out is always, can be always beneficial, because you can see where you're at and then you can see where you want to go.
Okay, nice. So as you guys know, my job at Open Life is look for help for you whenever you need it. So that's what I'm here for. So if you think that you are going through some difficulties, you have life challenges in your relationship, so your husband cannot understand you, you cannot understand your husband, I think Mr. Trey is the reference. So do you have an office in the Palm Beach area or in Broward, Dade?
Yeah, I'm located here in Palm Beach area. I'm in Green Acres. I have an office. It's 5700 Lake Worth Road. I'm in Suite 308B, here in Green Acres. You can find me on Psychology Today. You can find me at safeharborsolutions.com. So I'm in the vicinity.
Okay, so due to the time that we are living right now, so we see the technology gets more advanced, so they make things easier for people. So do you also offer virtual counseling?
Yeah, I'm in person for those who like the hands-on, who like to be face-to-face, because a lot of people like the personal, and I also extend virtually. Currently, I have clients in California, New York, Broward, and so we offer a virtual platform to make it easier to find you wherever you're at.
Oh, that's when you're all over the world.
I can be there if they need me.
Nice. So can you give them your phone?
Yes, my contact number is 561-484-3990. Again, that's 561-484-3990. You can find me at Safe Harbor Solutions LLC. If you just Google that, or safeharborsolutions.com, you can pull me up, or just look for my name, Tremaine Thomas, through Psychology Today in Green Acres area, and it'll pull it up.
Okay, so we're going to take a break and we're gonna be back shortly.
Gen an pile talent qui caché, gen an pile personnalité ou pas connaît, gen an pile valeur que n'oublier. Pour finir avec tout ça, Open Life TV Show ouvre une fenêtre sur le monde qui permet de découvrir des personnalités et des talents très remarquables. Open Live TV Show, c'est une plateforme qui a défilé sous un tapis 5 étoiles, toute œuvre ak image qui fait force de communauté noire. Société, musique, religion, culture, rencontre, rire aux éclats, c'est tout ça pour le bonheur de tous les goûts. Pas rater yon rendez-vous comme ça. Restez connecté sur YouTube ak Facebook et puis abonné ak channel YouTube Open Live TV Show. Comme ça, quel que soit côté où y est, ou pas manquer rien. Open Live TV Show a aidé ou identifier et valoriser potentiel ou l'a aidé ou mettre accent sur force ou et bon plus confiance, motivation pour un succès total. Emilienne Lubin, présentatrice, animatrice de carrière. Open Live TV Show pour découvrir de nouveaux horizons. Pile talent qui caché, gen un pile personnalité ou pas connaît, gen un pile valeur que n'oublier. Pour finir avec tout ça, Open Live TV Show ouvre une fenêtre sur le monde qui permet de découvrir des personnalités et des talents très remarquables. Open Live TV Show, c'est une plateforme qui a défilé sous un tapis 5 étoiles, toute œuvre ak image qui fait force de communauté noire. Société, musique, religion, culture, rencontre, rire aux éclats, c'est tout ça pour le bonheur de tous les goûts.
Yes, je suis content pour me retourner back ensemble avec nous. So, nous connaissons invité là, li pas parler créole, mais basically ça nous t'a parlé c'est un monde qui deal avec monde qui a un problème mental, avec monde qui deal avec problème dans frère yo, dans relation yo. So c'est ça li fait, li là pour li aider nous dans ça. Nous connaissons une série de monde, même les abdil avec une série de problèmes, ils pas chercher aide parce que ils pensent que si ils ont mental health therapy, c'est comme si c'est monde qui fou, c'est comme si ils ont un problème mental. Et non, c'est pas jamais ça lié vrai, c'est juste ou chercher un monde qui peut aider ou deal avec ça ou abdil là. C'est de ça nous a parlé et je connais si mon intelligent nous y n'a comprendre. So moi pour continuer avec interview nous. So I'm happy to be back. So I like you to I like you to do a demonstration for the couples because you know sometimes we women we suffer because the husband do something that we don't like and most of the time we don't tell them and we take it personally, so we don't tell him or we don't tell him that this is not right. So can you give me an example of something like you think that can create conflicts in a relationship?
Yeah, I can. I mean, I think it goes both ways. Men resent stuff too. We harbor stuff. We harbor feelings. We ask our wife to do certain things, or we have expectations. The issue is that those expectations are not always communicated, right? So in our minds, an example is that we all think how we think. So let's say dishes in the sink. I've had people fight over that, right? So someone thinks that if you wash the dish, say the wife believes after you use the dish, you wash it and you put it away.
Yes.
But then a child or a husband comes along, takes the saucer out, drinks out of it, and put it right back in the sink and leaves it. So then the wife comes back and she's just cleaned out the sink and
then it's
a full with stuff
dishes,
again. And you tell the person, hey, these dishes, I'm gonna get them. The husband say, oh, my fault, I'll get it. But then the next day it happens again. Next week it happens again. So what happens is that repetitive behavior, what you're saying, get internalized by that person. They internalize that as if that person is doing it to them. But they never really say, this really bothers me. So what happens, resentment builds up. And then they get frustrated and blow up at the significant other because they keep doing habitual stuff that bothers them. A lot of times, if we can communicate these things and then work on addressing them as they're happening, we can help them work through it a lot better so we don't have to build up. And then the husband doesn't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
He just feels like you're just getting mad for no reason. He's calling you emotional,
Yeah.
or so
You're
all
crazy.
these names,
All
you're
these
crazy,
names.
all these different things that he's saying. And
Yeah.
the issue is that he's just can clean up behind himself. If he cleans up behind himself, you won't have an issue with him. So it's just trying to
Exactly.
train a behavior. So what we have to do is retrain behavior. So if I prefer a certain thing, when you come in the house, if I want you to hug me, then I should say that. I should come to you and hug you. I should do something to train something. So so having people train and talk to each other. So that's what I do in therapy. I bring those through processes together to help them work it out so that dishes don't become an issue
And
20 years in their marriage.
Yes, and I think I really like the fact that you talk about this, because it's something like most women having problem with, because men, okay, I'm a woman, I cook, I clean, I do the laundry, I do most of the hard work in the house. Okay, so if I take my time, I prepare you a good meal. So I'm expecting after you're done eating, you wash your plate.
That's the least you can do, huh?
Yeah, I will be happy
Right.
if you do that. But if you don't do it, trust me, even I don't say anything, I'm not happy.
Right.
Because in reality, I'm not a slave, I'm your wife.
Right.
So you're supposed to help me, but most of the time it's contrast. They don't do that.
Right.
They
And a
don't-
lot of times it's our love languages. People don't understand that we have different love languages sometimes and we don't speak it. So if your love language is, hey, these acts of services, you do these services so I feel loved, and the other person is words of affirmation, they may say something nice to you, but that's not what you need. So a lot of times conveying what you need, like, hey, I'm cooking the meal. I've already worked myself very hard trying to prepare all this stuff, I don't want to now have to break down everything, put out everything, because now that's putting me at bed at 12 midnight because, and you just going in, you sleep good and you're snoring by the time I get to bed, and I'm frustrated. So to reduce frustration, we have to learn how to work together as a team. So if one is doing something, the other one undergirds that one by supporting, and then we'll have a more balanced relationship. So it's all about trying to balance it out.
Yeah, this is nice, and that's why I think it's good for people when you're like dealing with those things in your relationship. So you seek for help, you ask for help, because I think that will help you to keep your relationship. So me personally, I have something that I'm dealing with, and I'm gonna confess it in front of the public today. Like my husband, like when he loves buying clothes, not all the time, but he loves buying clothes. So once he gets new clothes, he just take off the tags, drop the tags on the floor. Instead of putting them in the garbage, so he put them in the floor. But I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm really mad when he do it, but I never tell him that. So what do you think I should do? Should I tell him? But because I think he's a growing up, he's a big boy, so I don't think I have to tell him that.
No, I understand, but see, these are the things though, because you think a certain way and you may like certain things neat in a certain manner.
Yeah.
When you see those tags, it may make everything else look out of place or messy. Those little tags can make the whole floor look messy to you.
Yes.
But see, he won't see that same picture. So sometimes you have to go to him with something that will make sense to him. If he likes jewelry and it's all over the place and he's mad, like, who moved my watches? Like, you have to show him, see, this is the same way I feel when it's this. So he has something to compare it to.
Yes.
If he can compare it to
yeah.
something, he can understand how you feel. Because we're not going to, a lot of times we're opposite. So we're not, the same thing that moves you doesn't move me. But if I can get you to show me how that impacts you with something I like, then I will say, oh, okay, so this is how it feels. And that's mean I put myself in your shoes, and now I can now start taking, more of a proactive approach to pick up behind myself when it comes to that specific thing. And you just stay on one thing until that thing gets better, and then you pick up another thing.
Yeah, no wonder you are a counselor, because you know how men are sometimes. You see him, he really worry about his watch, where he put it. He really worry about where he put his phone charger, because I always lost my I don't know where it is, and when I go use his, he will tell me go find my.
Right, and see, that's serious to him. He
Yeah.
believes, so he feels you're not as responsible with chargers and phones
Yeah.
as you are with other stuff. But that's the thing that he focuses on. So this is what I'm saying, that we have different, like, you don't care about it. Oh, I'll just get another charger. Where
Yeah.
he feels that, you know, these things are prioritized, maybe because he has a lot of business, a lot of stuff going on, that he sees that a certain way. So that's what, if we can get an understanding of those things and understand each other more, we don't have to take things personal all the time. And unless we take things personal and understand that's just the system operating, then we don't have to blow up. We don't have to get mad.
Yes. So what I tell you earlier, it's like just little basic thing. So now let's get a little bit more into the real problem that people are dealing with. Since you are specialized in trauma and you counseling family, individual, and couples. So when can a couple realize that it is time now for them to look for help?
I think they should look for help as soon as they want to become a couple, really. Because again, remember, there's no magic book that works for everybody, because we're all different.
Okay.
You know, so like marriage, we're going to enter into marriage without sitting down and talking to somebody about our preferences. We can be setting ourselves up for failure, because a lot of people feel just because we get married, things come together and should work. But we got to remember, we still are coming from two different backgrounds. We're coming from two different mindsets. I don't like tags on the floor. He doesn't like his phone charger. If we can talk about that before we start getting into the depth of the relationship, we can work out things early on that we don't even have to have these issues as much. You know, you're going to have some conflict because you're two different people. But I think couples should get help as soon as they decide they want to become a couple, because there's a lot of background history, family dynamics, things that go involved with that, whether a person has their family or is really tied to their family. Just different things can come into the relationship and kind of offset it.
Okay. You know, some couples, they have problem like men when they go use the toilet, when they go pee.
They don't leave their seat down.
Yeah, they don't lift it up. They pee all over it, and then they go back to sleep, and then you hear them snoring. A long time ago, I used to have that problem with my husband. But now this problem fixed, and I thank God for it, because I don't know for how long I could take it if that didn't fix. For me, I think it was like, you didn't have respect for me. If you have respect for me, you should clean after your mess. But thanks God, my prayer exhausts, and I don't have to deal with this problem anymore. But you, as a counselor, so I know you meet young couples, white, black, Spanish, and Caribbean people also. So have you ever seen a couple come to you complain about this problem?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people complain about the male-female dynamic and what they feel like roles are in these dynamics and stuff. But I gotta say myself, 22 years, I've never had the seat down. My wife has always had the seat down. I've never had it up when she came to the bathroom. 22 years. So just had to throw that out there. So, but you know, couples, they again, we're coming from different perspectives, and it depends on whose thought process, who ideology is more dominant. If a man has been raised by his single parent mother, he's going to probably have a different thought process, enter into a relationship with another young lady because he didn't see a father in the home. So all these different things can cause conflict in the relationship of roles and doing things like that. So yeah, I talk to people when it has to do with bathroom issues or sanitary issues. I just got to get the person who's doing this stuff to understand why the other person sees it that way. You said you felt it was disrespectful. So see, for you defined it. You tied a feeling to it.
Yes.
He may not look at it as I'm disrespecting you. He may think disrespect is something totally different. Me yelling at you or me putting you down. He may not link it to the toilet seat. That's where I make the connection with the people to say that, hey, this is how this person is interpreting that. And now we can try to make a change.
Okay, so I know counselor, therapist is the same thing, and I know you help treating people like when they go into problem, when they have mental problem or some disorder. So how can you help a couple that are going to some problem and then they say, okay, this is the end of it, so there's nothing else I can do, I cannot take it. So how can you treat
Okay.
this couple?
Again, when I first meet with couples, I try to get the idea of what they want from therapy, because sometimes people come into therapy faking or fronting as if they want it to work when they don't want it. So I try to get them, if they want it to work, I have them tell me what it is they're going through.
Okay.
Now, some of them will say, hey, we're going to try this. If it doesn't work, then we've tried. So what I do when they get to the point where they're both exhausted or one person feels like they can't do it, the main thing to me is healthy people. If we can't do it healthily together, then I try to help them do it healthily separate, because sometimes there still may be kids involved. And sometimes we do things with the notion of I'm gonna stay together for the kids, but all we show the kids is a dysfunctional unit, which is not helpful for the kids sometimes. So I try to help them be healthy separate. And so we can still be amicable, we still can be respectful, we still can be cordial. I just help them do that. If they need to or feel that they have to separate, then I just help them go through the separation process in a healthy manner where it doesn't hurt the kids or hurt each other. I just try to make it as peaceful as possible.
Oh, okay. But there's nothing you can do like to help them from stopping it?
Oh no, I mean I can help them stop it, but again, they got to want to stop it too. That's something God never goes against, is your will.
Yeah.
And no matter how people always say God can do what he wants, God can't do what he wants.
Yes.
God can't change your will. He can't make you do something. He can't make you. I can keep God outside of my life all of my life if I choose to shut him out, and that's one thing he's given us. And so we have to willingly accept Jesus in order we can put him out. So in a relationship dynamic, I also have to work with their will. If they're not willing to let me help them, I can't help them. If they're willing, if somebody's will there to not be together, then there's really nothing I can do.
There's nothing you can do.
Because even if God can't do it, I know I can't do it.
I understand. This is understandable. Like it's like you were at our church today. This morning, that was my husband's subject. He said, for you to make progression, for you to be successful in your life, so you need to allow God to change you. Because if you're not letting him change you, if you're not allowed to make sacrifice, to change, to live the way that God wants you to live, so that you cannot make no progress in your spiritual life.
Right, because God has the answers.
Yeah.
Do we hear him? And sometimes, we think we know more than he knows. And so we're going to do it our way because we feel our way is best. And so that's part of the things, and that's what you've seen the Israelites do it their way.
Yeah.
Took them 40 years for an 11-day journey.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to do it their way.
Yeah, I think that's the worst thing people can do. They can you can do all things by yourself.
Right, and that's why, again, when we're talking about counseling or therapy, it shouldn't be something looked at as fearful, because, the thing is, I'm not judging you while you're coming in there. My thing is if you're stuck, I'm helping to get you unstuck and move you somewhere else. And then you just go with it. If you need to come back, come back. If you don't, you don't. I see some people only for 2 months. I've seen some people for 2 years. I see some people for 5 years. It just depends on what they have a need of. And so, it's all about the information you get, and your husband is exactly right. You have to be humble and you have to be willing enough. You have to open up so God can do some things that you can't do for yourself.
Yeah. So, you know, many people face mental life issue. So, in fact, I think 26% of U.S. adults develop what we call mental problems. So, what caused that?
It can cause different things can cause that. There are genetic predispositions, just like if you have diabetes, high blood pressure, somebody can genetically have anxiety, depression based on the bloodline, based on the bloodstream. But there's also environmental factors, where you live at. You know, I have a guy who grew up in a gang. You know, he grew up, you know, watching people die. He grew up with that trauma, so he didn't have empathy because he was desensitized to just seeing people. So his upbringing caused him to have trauma, caused him to have mental health, because he didn't know how to deal with just regular life because of all the stuff that he's seen growing up. So now he has a family, and his wife tells him, you don't have any empathy, you don't care about anything. Well, when you've grown up in an environment like that, to be hardened, then it's hard for you to be sensitive sometimes, because that has condition you. So we get in these situations that environments condition us, systems condition us. Prison, I work with different people. You can go to prison for 10 years and say you want to get out. You get out, but because you have that prison mentality, you end up going back. Even though you want to be free, you can't function out here, and you rather go back to a system that you know, other than a system that you don't know. Right. So I mean, I deal with veterans in combat, and I used to ask them, why would you go back? He say, well, Trey, when I left here, I was kind of like you, but when I got over there and got bullet shot at me every day, when I come back, I'm not that person no more. I'm at a different I'm at a different level now, that I want to hurt somebody, or I'm used to fearing for my life. So if I don't have that, that's why I re-enlisted. I went back to something that was more normalized for me, you know. And so a lot of times these mental health issues develop just out of our environment, out of genetics. And so that's my job. I assess that when you first come in, to see where it's coming from, so I'll know what course of action I need to do to address it.
Okay. I have a cousin of mine. We grew up together when we were in Haiti. We used to go to school together, and she used to be so beautiful, but accidentally something happened, and now she gets burns all over, completely burns. And then it's like she become a totally different person. So do you think that can impact her life in a positive way or in a negative way?
What, therapy, or what happened to her?
What happened to
her?
her?
It's definitely, if you feel like she changed, of course that situation changed her, you know. So that situation was traumatizing to her. It changed how she thought, at least if nothing else, about herself. I'm sure she's concerned with safety and security too. At some point, I'm sure she has some issues with safety and trust and stuff like that because of that. See, that's what I'm saying. A person who never would experience that would have no issues with the safety. Now that happened, it's changed how she thinks about life. She's still the same person. Yeah. She's just not the same person on the outside.
On the outside.
Right. So she's still beautiful, but if she doesn't believe that, then she would never get to who she needs to be. So what therapy would do is help her reconstruct her thoughts about the situation, the incident, and get her to see who she want to be, not what this thing has created her to be.
Yeah, I really like that. Yeah. I think I'm going to make her CEO. Yeah, you already have a client, because I think she needs it. And all I can do to help her, I will do it, because, you know, if I were in that situation, I know she will.
Want somebody to help you.
Yeah, she will help me too.
And that's why I kind of like trauma. Trauma changes people. You know, I have people who have been multiple rape victims. I have people who, you know, have been held up by gunpoint. I have people who watch people just die in their arms and stuff like that. And that changes how their minds start to interact with the world. Now they park closer to the store because they're afraid something's going to happen to them. Now they don't go certain places because there's too many people. So it ends up capping people's life and stopping them from living. So that's why, you know, I enjoy trying to get in there, because what I do is try to help them re-look at life again so that they can start living.
Yeah. So, you know, in this country, it's not only in this country, it's almost all over the world. So I talk about this because me, as a mom, as a wife, and not only just a wife, as a pastor's wife, so I think it's important for me to help couple to stay together. But most of the time, this is not what happened, because not everyone can deal with problem, so they don't like to deal with the same thing. They just move and then let go everything, and in back, you know, who pay for that is if there's children and the family. The kids are the one that suffer more. And even the wife, even the husband, they suffer too, but not the same as the kids.
Right.
But sometimes you see the kids, they doing drug, they smoke, they even carry gun, they become violent.
Right.
So what can you tell those kids that are going through this problem?
Okay, so I do also see, you know, family dynamics like this when there's a, you know, divorce or something like that happens. So I try to work with the kids on developing coping skills, because what you just mentioned is that they're trying to cope, but a lot of times in a negative way. So in a lot of things today, because of the way marijuana is legalized and stuff like that, so there's a lot of self-medicating. You know, people go and find their own way of dealing with it. But a lot of times these ways are not healthy. So what I do with the particular people is I just kind of find out their interests. I find out certain things about them. And then I just try to help them cope in a way that's positive. Because at some point they will get through it.
Yeah.
But we got to get them to that point. You know, we don't want them on drugs, hooked and stuff like that. So what we try to do is work with them in the situation to get them to the other side. Because once they get to the other side, they can be a lot healthier.
Okay. So, you know, I know there are couples, like, things get so hard right now, especially after the COVID thing. A lot of people lost the job, so they don't have the job anymore, and they still have the mortgage to pay. They still have the car to pay. They still have the family to take care of it. So most of the time they commit suicide. So what can you tell those people? How can you help them? What can you tell them from doing that?
As far as which side of it, the one after they do it,
commit
suicide. I mean,
yeah.
They commit suicide. I can't do that with them, right? But you're saying, okay, you know. And again, part of that is the assessment of why they're coming into therapy. And when you hear about, you know, COVID and losing things and stuff like that, so you can assess that person is probably depressed. So what I do is, you know, I try to rate them where they're at, you know, and sometimes people will say they have suicidal ideation or suicidal thoughts. So what I do is I just try to put them on a plan. You know, I try to get them connected to more people, because the more we're connected, the harder sometimes it is for us to do stuff, because we feel like we're letting other people down. So when you're dealing with depression a lot of times and going into that suicidal thought process, a lot of times people start separating themselves from everybody. They get isolated. They withdraw, because it's easier for them, I believe, the enemy to get into that thought process and say, go ahead and do this. Nobody cares, nobody loves you, nobody wants you, kind of thing, because you've lost everything. You're no good, you know.
Yeah.
I believe it's easier for you to have those thoughts when you're isolated by yourself, shut off from people. What I try to do is try to get them connected to different supports, so now they have more people to have in their lives. I try to work on getting them connected with other different things and working really on strategies that help them cope. The more they can cope with it, the less they are depressed. And so if I can get them to those things, like with some people, they may have to go on medication in order to get them out of a low place temporarily until we can get them into a better place, and then they can come off the medication, whatever is needed. I'm not a medication advocate, but sometimes certain things may need in order for them to be better in the short run to get them to where they need to. And so once I can get them out of that little hole, we can start working on other things, strategies, and we keep it going. And then once they start feeling better, they start doing better. And once they start doing better, they pretty much, I've had several clients
Like that.
confess to me that they were in the process or was going to attempt or whatever. But, by working through some things, we were able to get them on the other side of that. So.
Yeah. What about anxiety or depression? Do you think we will be done shortly? Anxiety, depression, do you think like there's medicine that can help with?
There is. There is medication out there that's been proven to work with people based on, again, this anxiety and depression that people need medication for. It's more a genetic thing. Okay. Everybody don't need. And everybody who displays depression or anxiety don't need medication, because some of it can come from environments. Some of it, if the environment is triggering it, then they didn't get that genetically. All they have to do is rethink how they working with their environment. If it's genetic, they may need something because it's passed down. If it's not, then we can work with it. So some medication can help. With other people, they don't need the medication. So we just work with them strictly with their cognitive function and how to help them change that.
Okay. So my last question for you, not my last. I have a lot of questions, but
We'll
time
talk
is
off
flying.
camera. We'll talk off camera.
Yeah. So in your field, so I know when you were in school, you go to the field with other professionals to get an idea of what you're going to do.
Right.
So now you're doing it. So you will see people personally, you see individual, you see couple. So have you ever met someone that tell you, instead of you giving me this therapist and I need the other therapist?
As far as like a with medication or just something different?
You know what I'm trying to tell you. You're dealing with people that has mental problem, yeah? So they come to see you for that problem, but instead of that problem, and they interest in you.
Oh, as a person?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That happens sometimes. But, what I do, if I feel like it's not going to be, if we can't have a relationship that's going to be therapeutic, then I can refer them to a female therapist or something like that they can get help. Because the whole goal is about them getting help.
Okay.
So I have other people that I work with, other peers, other co-workers. I have a staff in my office that I work with that I can refer them to that person so that they can get the help and we don't cross any lines.
Yeah. So, but never in your weakness side, and then you got an eyes for.
Oh them. No. I care for my wife too much to do some stuff like that. Yeah. It's all about keeping that above board, with God. So I can't let myself be compromised like that, because again, I'm supposed to be a witness too.
Yeah.
And I can't witness somebody that I'm doing the exact, that same thing. So no.
Yeah. This is just a show that's to put.
Stuff happens. Again, everybody, is susceptible to coming into something happening in that environment, but you just got to make sure you have safety measures, safeguards up.
Okay, so before we end, if there is something that you want to say to the people that are watching right now, something that is very important, you want to tell them, and I did not ask you, what will it be?
No, I just would like to reiterate, don't be afraid of getting help. There's nothing wrong with getting help. And again, where we come from a lot of times, when we grow up in societies or grow up in ethnicities that tell you that going to talk to somebody, you're crazy or something like that, you have to understand that if you can't work it out yourself, you may need somebody else that can help you work it out. And again, it's not about judgment. It's not about anything other than you getting what you need. And that can, that doesn't have to be something that's condemning, So I would like you to just do what's in the best interest of you, because as your husband was saying, that a mind that can get information and get renewed can be a better mind. And if you have a better mind, you have better thought process. You have better thought process that's going to lead to better behavior. So what we're trying to do is have better outcomes and better behavior. So that comes through having a better, healthy conscience, a healthy mind.
Thank you so much, Counselor Trey. It was a pleasure for me to have you here with me, and I really appreciate the fact that you spent your time to come here to inform my public. Thank you so very much.
No, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, so moi dis tout le monde merci qui t'a regardé émission an, pas oublier Counselor Trey, li là pour aider le plus souvent dans culture nous en Haïti. Nous toujours pensé si nous voyons un counselor c'est parce que nous avons un problème mental, c'est parce que nous mal fonctionné, c'est pas ça du tout. So moi suggérer nous si nous besoin d'aide pour nous relayer. Can you please give your phone number again?
It's 561-484-3990.
Yeah, so that's his number. So contact him for all you need. And don't forget that Work Insurance Agency is the only agency you should go for help. You should go to when you need help. So we offer life insurance. We do Obamacare, we do Medicare, and we also do tax in the business. For all the type of insurance that you need, please call 954-479-8109. And pas oublier pour brancher émission Pasteur Chéri Live qui passe chaque mercredi, mardi, jeudi de 6h à 7h AM. So dans émission ça on obtient toute information et qui pourrait aider comment pour gérer économie et comment pour vivre dans la société. Thank you so very much. It was a pleasure for me to be here with you. This is your host here, La Belle Emie. See you next time.
Gen un pile talent qui caché, gen un pile personnalité ou pas connaît, gen un pile valeur que n'oublier. Pour finir avec tout ça, Open Life TV Show ouvre une fenêtre sur le monde qui permet de découvrir des personnalités et des talents très remarquables. Open Live TV Show, c'est une plateforme qui a défilé sous un tapis 5 étoiles, toute œuvre à image qui fait force de communauté noire. Société, musique, religion, culture, rencontres, rire aux éclats, c'est tout ça pour le bonheur de tous les goûts. Pas rater un rendez-vous comme ça. Restez connecté sur YouTube et Facebook et puis abonné à la chaîne YouTube Open Live TV Show. Comme ça, quel que soit côté où y est, ou pas manquer rien. Open Life TV Show a aidé à identifier et valoriser potentiel ou l'a aidé à mettre accent sur force ou et bon plus confiance, motivation pour un succès total.